Hello. Hi, babies. I ate a lot of beans today. And normally, when people are eating beans, it's because they don't have money for chicken and beef and fish. So, yeah, uh, it's fine. I'm guessing this is the adapting phase and the up and down. But the one thing that crossed my mind right now, and I was like studying for, like, I was reviewing the business analysis book. I've been saying I wanted to do that for the past week, but for some fucking reason, I haven't been doing it. Anytime I say for some fucking reason, that literally means I was not present enough or I was not really aware of how my time is being passed along. But today was actually a very kind of like a good day. I don't know. I'm getting more and more kind of like accustomed to just sticking to the house, like doing some things and uh, trying to detach from the outside world. I want to say didn't really work that well, but instead of spending like 5 hours outside today, I only spent like two, and I intentionally like went out specifically to walk, to have coffee and think, and at that and like for 30 minutes just to chill and be out of the house. So that was beautiful. But the reason for this is because yesterday I was kind of like working out. So I started a new gym. And while I was like listening to music, I was very much like vibing on some like aggressive energy. And this aggressive energy has nothing to do with like heavy metal shit that I was listening to as music, but had everything to do with what has happened over the course of the past like 2 weeks with the guy that basically that I was working for. And it's funny because like gradually every single time I kind of like try to get over something, like something kind of pops up. And when I say something pops up, it's like me, right? Like it's an emotion in me, an understanding in me. I could always like the need is the need for the need that was not met by this job that keeps kind of like bringing out these like outbursts of like emotion, aggressivity, just kind of like my head going, what the fuck, who do they think they are? You know, when your ego starts playing with you. And I started saying shit, and then when I was like sitting at the gym and I was actually working out, I stopped for a second and I was like, uh, you start imagining scenarios in your head when you're upset. You start imagining you saying stuff, discussing stuff, talking about stuff. And that practically is what you're used to doing. And you're always kind of used to just opening up, having a conversation with people, finding that solution. Is it ever a solution that's found? I really don't see that. I don't really think so. But I think most of the time, to actually approach a resolution, you kind of have to tell the story from your side. And I realized while I was talking that half the stories in my head were not true. So it was huge because I started thinking about the different parts of the job that I was doing. So I split it into, I mean, like, what do you do as an actual consultant slash business analyst? You, like, all the meetings that I had to do. And if they were to hire somebody to gather that kind of information and to create the report, that would be a separate person. And then the marketing, the campaign, that would be a separate person. And then the copywriter is a separate person. And then the advertiser is a separate person. And then the designer is a separate person. And then the person actually monitoring all of these is a separate person. So in all honesty, I kind of like when he asked me for an invoice, what I did was I actually like split all the things I was doing and kind of like charged him for that because I've been doing that for the past 3 months now. And him rejecting everything, and his statement is, "I'm not gonna take this as I'm gonna take this as a joke." I think He also said, I'm going to, I because I didn't see results, I'm not paying you for shit. And so for me, I kind of like, the first thing you realize is you should have taken your money up front. And because you never know how the people would actually interact. But for me, that's bad karma, dude. It's like, if I can't trust you, why am I working with you? I don't want to do this. So, so in my head, I was like, these are all people I would have owed. And that was the baseline of my negotiations or my anger. But the reality is, like, that's effort that I put in, and I'm not being basically paid for it. And in a very frustrating way, I found myself kind of like splitting every single one of these duties that would have that would have taken a team and negotiating on their behalf with me in order for them to calm down. So the advertising part is, you can look at it as like whoever would have been in charge of advertising needed to think more of an advertiser, and that for me kind of like felt like I'm thinking beyond what I am, which is not true, but also kind of like he was not given his due respect. The designers specifically, like, it was horrible, like literally, like, I met like about 34 designers. I reduced them to like 5 6 that I tried to meet with. Actually, I tried to meet with like 9 of them, and by the time, my bad, and by the time, one second. So I think the one thing that actually opened my mind is the designer, because like I actually spoke with like that. I ended up with 2 designers, and one of them was like brilliant. Was wow, like she listened to everything, she took all the notes, and she prepared everything, and then every single part of her like actual flyer was was a representation of what we wanted to do. And for me, that's like work, that's effort that needs to be cherished and valued. And if I show it to that guy, his response is going to be so fucking stupid, I'd want to punch them in the face. And the honest truth is, I felt embarrassed for the designer. And that transferred to all the things that I did that I was like brushing to the side because that was completely neglected. And it's a legitimate feeling when somebody doesn't really see what you're doing and the effort you're putting in or the work you're just producing. Because to them, they just can't comprehend. It's like talking to somebody about like sushi that's never had raw fish before. How the fuck would they know how to compare or what to compare? And I just like, as I got frustrated while trying to work out, I realized that like, I shouldn't lie because I don't really owe money to these people, so I can't use it as a negotiation tactic when it comes to like resolving my issue. The reality is I am the one who is owed money, and that's the one thing that should matter. The one thing that should actually be the solid truth. And for some reason, because that wasn't enough, I felt like I had to elaborate on like different characteristics and different characters in order for me to be able to kind of like justify to anyone who's basically a plebeian who would not understand what it means to actually use your mind, be creative in your thought, look at the world from an angle that does not really like, that allows for a different creation, movement, justification instead of just a response. Or it's like, because like most people literally respond to the world in front of them. They don't take the time to kind of like imagine how to create something that the world would follow. They would just follow what the world has to offer. And I really think there's a thick barrier between us and them. And the problem is, like, it doesn't matter what you try to do, these people will continuously fail in evolving unless they start becoming like us or unless they allow us to kind of do our job with them. It's such a shame. What's more upsetting is the fact that I was the person that they had to kind of like fuck up with in order for them to kind of like go back to their old shits. And now they're either going to have to decide we're doing good, we don't fucking care, or they're going to have to decide that we're blocked and maybe we should have given whatever we were trying to do with this guy a chance. Arrogantly, I don't think they'll pick me, and even if they do, they're gonna have. Even if they do, man, I don't know. Like I'd imagine they have to pay me the money they owe me first before I take any step forward. And from there, it's just as simple as I wish them the best. And what's upsetting is I have to defend myself just so I don't feel this way. And it's not fair for me to put myself in that position, but also I should allow this feeling to exist and like leave on its own instead of always kind of justifying why it's irrational. Because the emotion behind it is real, and like no train of thought can justify this awkward feeling and this feeling of being cornered for no fucking reason just because people are cunts or absent-minded. Thank you for this. The end result is when I was honest with myself, I was able to clearly see what are the things that were truly just festering inside of me, and what are the things that I'm able to engage with. Thank you guys.